Hello, everybody. It's your host, Deanna Jean. This is the after show. And today we have a huge guest, a very, very big guest. Actually, a friend of mine who is a author and he's a podcaster. So today we're going to welcome Joe Potosi to the show. He should be in just a few minutes, and then we can go. So on today's show, we're just going to have a little bit of a talk with Joe Potosi. I'm just going to ask him a couple of questions after he talks about what he needs to talk about. And basically, well, he's a good guy. He's a really, really good guy, and I can't wait for you guys to meet him. He's actually been on the show before. The title is Your Condition Doesn't Have to Be Your Conclusion, and he's just really awesome. So with further ado, let's see if he's in here. Okay. I apologize, guys. We're just waiting on Joe. Okay, just give me a couple of seconds to message him. This is embarrassing. I apologize, guys, for all of this. We'll get to him in a moment. I'm just waiting for him to come into the room. Okay, so today's topic is anxiety, and I do a show every couple of weeks because my podcast is right now on the All About series. I have decided that the best way to showcase who I am as a person instead of just a podcaster, to showcase having my guests on YouTube instead of having them, in the middle of the show, because what I'm doing is this show I'm doing no guests on the actual podcast, but yeah, let's see if he's here. I'm still waiting. I apologize for the inconvenience, guys. What was I doing? Sorry, we're still waiting for Joe, so I'm going to I'm just gonna get started without him for the time being until we have him on the show. So, how I do this is I basically have a conversation with my people and, ask them questions later on. So basically, it's, talk now, ask later on type thing. Give me a second. So apparently he's having technical difficulties. So I guess we can wait for him. I apologize, guys. This never happens. Well, usually never happens. But yeah, just give us a moment. Okay. You there? I can't hear you. Da, da, da. I'm sorry, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't see you.
You can't see me.
No?
Give me a minute. Oh, okay. I know why. It's the other thing using my my thing. We're on YouTube right now, so. Okay, how are you?
I've been a little sick.
Oh no.
But I have jury duty today. Hopefully I don't have to go back tomorrow.
Okay, that's not that bad. That's not that bad. Okay. You ready to get started?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 2 seconds.
Hang on. Did you start yet?
I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
Okay, guys. I am sorry for the delay. So I'm here talking to a friend of mine. He is the author of When the Dust Settled. He's a podcaster, and you may remember him from one of my last shows on actually season 1 of the Deanna Jean show. The title of the podcast episode is "Your conclusion doesn't have to be sorry, your condition doesn't have to be your conclusion." Um, so he is none other than Joe Potosi. How are you? Again.
I'm really good. Thank you for this opportunity. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you again.
And thank you for coming back onto the show, or the extension of the show.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great show.
So today is just a relaxed conversation. It's not, I don't ask you any questions. You tell your story, and then all I do is ask a couple of questions at the end. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get started. Would you like to tell my audience a little about yourself and your story?
Sure. So I'm an author, motivational speaker, and a couple of years back, I well, actually around 10 years ago, more like 12, I began a journal, um, write stuff down, some experience. It was a child that I was having a hard time to cope with, right?
Right.
I was a brand new father, and I discovered by writing stuff down, pen to paper, it it gave me closure to the nth degree. It gave me even more serenity now. It gave me more peace of mind, and a decision was made that I should write a book with the intention of helping other people. And so that's what I did. I wrote my book, shared my story, the good, bad, and the ugly, and with the intention of letting people know a couple things: that you're not alone, that you can get through whatever it is you're facing in your life today. And to put that another way, a condition does not since
Sorry about that. We're kind of having technical issues.
it was among. I'm sorry.
I'm just having technical issues. My what is going on? Sorry, it has a habit of cutting out here and there. I apologize again, guys. Okay, I think everything is better now. Okay, I don't know what's going on here.
Continue.
Okay, I can hear you, but you're not moving type
Okay.
thing. I apologize, guys. Okay, so okay, there we go. We're there.
Okay. So I wrote the book in order to help people and to remind people your condition does not have to be your conclusion. In other words, although I was abused for 15 years of my life at the hands of my mother and my stepfather, and abandoned by my birth father, I broke that cycle. I didn't let that abuse become a part of who I am as a person and as a father. I broke the cycle, and you can do the same, whether it's being brought up in an abusive environment or growing up in a home with alcoholics, drug addicts, which was also a part of my story, not succumbing to that. Now, I'm not saying I'm a saint in the sense that I'm perfect, because believe me, I've have I have had my share of bad experiences throughout my life. I'm far from perfect, but God has delivered me and brought me through to a place where I'm at today. And with that being said, never give up in spite of what it is you're going through. If you fall down 8 times, get up 9. My book conveys a message of tenacity, of never quitting. Motivation was my sister and brothers. I needed to be there as the protector and the big brother, and above all else, be there for them. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
And we are all living in a very difficult time right now. I don't know how true it is with Canada at the present moment, with being locked down or whatnot.
Oh gosh,
But
it is horrifying. It's horrifying up here. It's like right now we're in the first stage. Basically, we're at the low end of the stages, and we've gone up a couple of pegs, and then we got knocked down because just the numbers kept on rising.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, a situation like that, it can trigger, like I suffer from PTSD, CPTSD, and there's certain situations that could trigger that. Now, as a kid growing up, I didn't know that's what it was, but when I became an adult and I started getting healthier and learning about my makeup, what makes me tick, what sets me off, I learned about PTSD and how to deal with it, you know? And I think it's hard for men to reach out for help when they've had a very traumatic childhood, for an example. Maybe they're too proud. They feel like they don't want to ask for help because they'll be embarrassed. But I want to encourage everyone to, you know, reach out for help, whether it's a best friend, you know. The goal is to get you to a professional such as a pastor. In my case, it was my pastor. He would counsel me on a weekly basis. Licensed therapist, and sometimes people need to be medicated. But going back to what I originally said, your condition does not have to be your conclusion. I try to live that out every day. Now, I allude to the fact that I've made mistakes. I made mistakes in my adulthood that I'm not proud of.
Wow, I'm sorry, guys.
That. And it's my hope that if you're going through a similar situation, maybe with a past relationship or um, alienated from your children, I don't know, but I just encourage you, don't give up. Never lose hope because you have a significance and a value that's unmeasurable.
That's true. That's true. So
And
sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, you're fine. Go ahead.
That being said, you know, sorry, it's coming to me. I apologize, guys. But yeah, what what ha? Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I go ahead. I gotta figure out what I was gonna say.
Okay. I was just gonna say that part of my book I talk about the gift of forgiveness, and I was talking about some of my shortcomings, even as the kid that you know would make mistakes, and I would beat myself up mentally, emotionally. I would just like I would just replay that tape in my mind over and over and over. But there was a point in time in my life as an adult that I made a decision. I used the tools I was given and I applied them into my daily life so that self, like for a better term, build myself up, believe in myself, have self confidence, and for me, having that relationship with God through Jesus Christ. Now, some people say, "Well, that's a crutch. That's only for weak people," and I beg to differ.
Truth.
It's just the opposite is true. And although my birth father left me when I was a little kid, around the age of 3, my mother and stepfather were constantly destroying my spirit and beating me down physically, trying to pass me off to family members, trying to get rid of me. God never, ever forsake me. He never left me. He never disowned me in the sense that he was always there. Now you say, how did he let that happen? Why did he let those things happen? I don't want to get into all that. That's not the purpose of our show tonight. I just want to say that In spite of the hardships, God still loves me. His love for me doesn't change like the love of a husband or a man with a woman could change.
Right.
People say, I fell out of love with God doesn't fall out of love with his children. And my relationship with God was what re energized my life and gave me a calling on my life, a purpose that, sure, I had purpose before, but it was, it's hard to put in words, but some direction and goals to strive for that weren't about me, but was about the greater good of other people. And so, over the years, I've been in the ministry. I became a pastor, and I've had the opportunity to work, in particular, over the last 7 years, with college students from all over the world, literally. And the one thing I've discovered about a lot of these college kids, American college kids and international ones, a lot of them come from broken homes, and they're trying to put the pieces back together. And yes, they're here trying to get a degree, let's say in engineering, but you know, they're lost emotionally because of their upbringing. And I try to mentor these individuals. I try to encourage them. I try to build them up and let them know that I care and that I understand. And it's okay to, you know, work on that now so that when your college career is over, not only do you have that piece of paper, you got a bachelor's degree in engineering, but you have a sound mind, a sound body, and a sound soul.
Right.
I think too, I gravitate. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I might say it in a way you might think is kind of weird, but in no way whatsoever am I that way. But I've coached young children, basketball and football, and I was a Cub Scout leader, and it was the same kind of experience of these young kids that have no father figure at home, and there's really no direction in their lives. And no, they don't have like a moral compass the way a nuclear family will have. Instead of looking the other way, like a lot of people do, I feel I feel inclined to try to help those kids by spending a little more time with them, learn how to hit a ball or shoot a basketball, or the real basic fundamental rules of football, whatever the case. I take that extra time, and this is the beautiful thing that um, it kind of makes me emotional when I think about it. But I'll tell you what happened. So I was coaching these kids in football. We're going back about 10 years, and I coached for 3 years. So those kids are now in high school. Well, now they're in college, and I ran into three of them all in the same summer, and they all told me the same thing. They're like, "Look, man, we had so much fun playing for you and playing with you, and you taught us so much. But thank you for teaching us about life, and thank you for caring." And that, for me, it just kind of reinforces that these young kids, they need direction. They want direction. They want that role model in their lives that it did impact them for the greater good. So my point is, I encourage everyone to get involved with the younger generation, to boys club and girls club, the YMCA, YWCA, Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. Why am I saying all this? Because there's millions of individuals in America that have children that are from broken homes, and they turn to the drugs. They're more chances are they're going to turn to the drugs and teen pregnancy, and the gangs at a very early age because they're looking for some type of acceptance, some type of belonging. And we, this is the thing. We could say, Chicago is so awful, and I'm originally from just outside of Chicago. Now I'm 3 hours away, and if you ever watch the news, there's shootings there all the time. Well, there's one common theme. It's typically teenage boys of color shooting other teenage boys of color, but unfortunately, a lot of young kids are killed in the process. But we can say, as a Canadian man, you can say America is so bad with crime, this and that. And inside America, there's states like Illinois. Inside of Illinois, there's big cities like Chicago, Rockford, Peoria. And inside those cities, there's neighborhoods. And inside the neighborhoods, there's homes where children live with the mother or maybe with the grandparent because the father is long gone or he's locked up or he just doesn't care. He's running the streets doing what he wants. And these kids are left to their own devices. And for me, every little part I can do is huge, right?
Right.
So when I was a kid, I'm gonna tell you two of the outlets that I gravitated toward: church and school. I was talking about the church program. So after school, twice a week, there was an after school program near where we lived, and I was able to go twice a week. And these people, most of them were volunteers. They impacted me and other of my friends, but they really impacted me for years with the way they would just be so kind and polite, teach us what it means to be a young man or a young woman, teach us about God, of course. And I think that played a role in the fact that I spent over 20 years of my life as an adult as a volunteer. I mean, a baseball coach, uh, tons of stuff. I won't go through all of it.
Okay.
And I think it goes back to that caring enough about our fellow man. And I think we all, can I just challenge you, challenge everyone, to
Okay.
volunteer an hour a month. Maybe you know a kid on the block or someone at your children at school that could use some socialization or some, you know, obviously when this whole COVID thing settles down, that's a whole other story. Um, invest in the life of other children.
That's a good challenge.
Yes.
That is a really, really good challenge. 12 hours a year to make sure, someone else is doing a little bit better and to, just help them out in, let's say, they're in poverty, give them a little bit of money, for food or something like that.
Right. You know, and I will be honest with you, there's been times where um, I'm like, why am I still doing this? What difference does it make? I kind of would spread myself out really thin, and every single time, somebody would say something to me how much it's helped them, and I believe that was God saying, "Look, you are impacting people, you are helping people," and I believe this with all my heart. Little is great if God is in it.
Right.
In other words, I don't need a camera to go with me into the nursing home where I volunteered for 14 years of my life. I don't need attention. I'm not fake like some people are. For 14 years of my life, I went to a nursing home every Wednesday and we would play cards, sing songs. People would make, ladies from the church would make blankets for the residents. And naturally, I got attached to a lot of those people. And it wasn't all senior citizens, there was people my age and younger there. And I just wanted to be a light of hope. I wanted to inspire people. The same thing at the county jail. Obviously, now we're talking about adults, right?
Definitely.
But people in the nursing homes and people in the jails are ostracized. Come on, let's face the facts.
True.
And maybe someone in the jail has broken the law and they need to pay. There's something called cause and effect. You cause this, now here's the effect. You broke it, now you got to pay. You broke the law,
Yeah.
and that's right. But just because that person broke the law, let's say you got a DUI, and there's a mark on him, does that make that person garbage for the rest of his life?
Mm,
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. People in the nursing homes are so lonely. And, they're somebody's mother, they're somebody's father,
true.
and they long for visitors. And the reality is they're there until they die, in most cases. But, so we just, shut them? No.
True.
So that's kind of how I'm wired, and that's what I've done for the majority of my time in Iowa. I just want to make a difference, man.
Making a difference is, a big thing. It will mean something to someone else. If you just, reach out and give, $20 to a homeless man for food, or if you see something, you say something, or, a little bit, if you give a little bit, a lot will be basically, given, even though it's just a tiny bit.
Right. Agreed.
Okay, so right now I am going to ask you the questions, the three that I have prepared for you. So the first one is, how has anxiety affected you during the last couple of years since our last show together?
Wow. How much time do you have? No.
That was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, let me just go back to last year,
Okay.
okay? Because that's when it really hit me hard. All right. So last year, so back in 1991, I was in a car accident and I hurt my lower back,
Okay.
but I never had to have surgery. But over the process of time, I've had really hard physical jobs, and over time, it changed my back, right? So for the last couple of years, I was getting injections on my back, and I go to the gym and lift weights, and that's really helped me kind of push away having to have surgery. But around this time last year, I started having real problems, and the injections were not working anymore. The doctor's like, we need to do surgery. Otherwise, you can lose your bowel function, you can lose your bladder function, you can become crippled. And so, in July, I had surgery. It took me 2 months to recuperate. But up until the surgery, there was some anxiety. There was obviously some uh, nervousness and, apprehension. I don't like surgery. I've had a couple. They're not something I look forward to. But anyway, the surgery was a success, and after 8 weeks, I was able to go back to work, and it seemed like the surgery worked. Then in October, my wife got COVID.
Oh no.
She almost died. I
Oh.
found her at 2:30 in the morning on the floor, and she spent 6 days in the hospital, and it was touch and go all that time. And then in November, I got pneumonia, and then in December, my mother-in-law died.
Oh no. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so it was a rough year, and I tried to really put into practice the things I've learned how to deal with anxiety and depression. Um, but when my mother-in-law died, I was almost like, this is too much, right? And to be quite frank, I broke down. I mean, I was strong for everybody else throughout the funeral and all that stuff, and it didn't really hit me till a few weeks after that. You know, just the magnitude of it all. You know, she was the matriarch of the family, and so I can say though, I do it pretty well comparatively to how I would have dealt with it 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I would have been hell on wheels. Let's go back 25 years ago. I would have been, I would have dealt with it in a much different way. My coping mechanisms would not have been what they are today. They would not have been healthy, constructive, you know,
Yeah,
on
I
the
know
up and
what you
up.
mean. So,
Yeah.
how have you coped with anxiety? Like, what are your coping mechanisms that you use to, you know, to get yourself to calm down from those times when you have, an anxiety attack, from the PTSD? Because I know I get anxiety a lot and I have to either be doing something with my hands or um, things like that.
Um, I usually, even if I'm at work, I meditate.
That's a
And
good
I
one.
just, yeah, I meditate. I meditate on what I mean by that is I think about the goodness of God and everything He's brought me through. And I meditate on the good things, not on the negative. I meditate on things that are lovely, the things that are pure, things that are of good report, the things that are, you know, honorable. And I focused on those things. And the anxiety goes away. I don't know if that makes sense or not,
No,
but
it makes lots of sense. Sorry.
and I typically will like if I'm at home. Um, this might sound bizarre, but it works for me. I discovered something just recently. I'll sit in a dark room. There's no noise. There's no nothing, and I'll play like really, I don't know, like whale, like dolphin and whale music, or I'll play classical music. That's to me, it's soothing to my soul. It helps me relax.
Right.
It helps me de-escalate. And there's another thing. I told you I think I meditate on the things of God in spite of what it looks like, in spite of what it feels like, in spite of what it might, you know, do later. There's another thing I meditate on, or I look back on, I reflect back on my son. My youngest son, his nickname was Tuffy, and I'll tell you why. He was born 12 days, he was born, I think, 10 days early. They were doing was managing, uh, like he would have a seizure. I never saw that. But they said he was having a seizure, so they're giving this medicine. He wouldn't laugh, he wouldn't smile, and eventually they said, "We think he might have cerebral palsy. We think he might have this. He might have that. You got to take him to the university hospital because we can't figure this out." So the amazing thing is, we took him home. No more monitors, no more nothing. But we're still giving the medicine, so if he had a seizure, it wouldn't be so violent. He never had a seizure. But when he was in the hospital, they did a brain scan, and the brain scan looked at normal, and that's when they said he may have cerebral palsy.
Oh no.
So about a couple weeks later, we went to the university, and The doctor examined him, compared all the medical records from the original time till today, and the doctor said he's healed. We can't explain it medically, but he's perfectly fine.
Oh, wow.
So hydroglycemia, his blood was too thick, so they had to thin his blood through his umbilicus. Um, as a result, his fine motor skills were a little, excuse me, were a little delayed. So when he was real little, he would go to like hand in hand therapy to kind of get better at that. Long story short, he was nicknamed Tuffy the day he was born. And whenever I'm having a bad day, I just reflect back on his life and that kid. And when he started school and everything, he never quit. He never gave up. He never said, "This is too much, Dad. I don't want to do this anymore, Dad." He kept going. And he's been a fighter his whole life. If you were to meet him today, he's a normal young man. He's 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so when I reflect on that, that helps me come out of the funk I might be in.
Okay. What does the stigma of mental health mean to you?
What does the stigma?
What does the stigma of mental health mean to you?
Okay. I kind of mentioned this before. There's a lot of men that are too ashamed to come forward and say, "Hey, man, I think I have depression," or "I think I have something. I don't know what it is, but I want some help." You know, when I was a young kid, there was no, sure, there was mental health back then, but my mother is mentally ill. My stepfather was mentally ill. My birth father was mentally ill. But it was never addressed. It was never confronted. It was never treated, right? And back in those days, I had aunts and uncles, same type of thing, schizophrenia, bipolar. Um, it was just kind of swept under the rug. And I think all of us need to bring awareness to mental health, that it's not something to be ashamed of. Because I personally, when I first became a Christian and I knew I had these issues I need to work through, that I had that stigma. Like, oh, I ain't gonna say I'm depressed, dude. Man, I ain't going to see no counselor about nothing, man. I can't do that, you know? But my whole mindset has changed, and that is those mental health workers, those licensed therapists, those doctors, they're on your side. They want to help you. They want to help you to find, fulfill your happiness so that you can live, so that, let me rephrase that, so you can live and be an effective, positive individual in the community in which you live. That's the bottom line.
True.
And I think more and more people are starting to understand that, but there's still a stigma.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's still stigmatized everywhere. And I've noticed it myself. People that I know, "Oh, no, I don't have this," or "You have this." And I'm like, huh? How does that relate to my mental health when, you're changing the direction on me? Right?
Right. Yep, good stuff.
Okay.
So,
Sorry,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I encourage people to, if maybe you're going to a counselor or your pastor, and you've gotten results, and you come to a place in your life where you can tell your friends and family to do the same. There's no shame to say, "Hey, man, I suffer from PTSD. I suffer from depression. I experience anxiety," and that's that's not a bad thing. I mean, to say that, because when you say that and you're actively trying to work on that, to me, any individual says that or is doing that, I have the utmost respect. It's no different than a person in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Absolutely.
They know they have a problem. They know that people around them can help them, and they need the support of the group. They need to be honest with themselves. They need to be honest with family members, and they need to have an open mind.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so we're almost out of time. Is there anything else you would like to say in addition to what you just said? Or do you have a shout out or anything, really?
I want to thank you again so much for this opportunity. You're so awesome. You guys can find me. Well, let me say you can find my website, joepotosi.com. I'm on Facebook, Joe Potosi. We also have When the Dust Settled fan page on Facebook. Instagram, Joe_Potosi. And the book I written, When the Dust Settled, by Joe Potosi, is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Zulon Press. And you can find all those links on my website, joepotosi.com. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope there was something I said that maybe inspired you and encouraged you. And remember, your condition does not have to be your conclusion. It might look really bad right now, but hang on.
Okay, so everything will be linked into the description below the podcast here on YouTube. And I want to thank you again, Joe, for having me having you on to my podcast. I apologize for that.
One more quick plug. You guys, Deanna's going to be on Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner, mental health therapist. That's next week, right?
It's actually this week, on the 14th, I believe.
So you can catch it on YouTube, Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, or Facebook. But you're going to be in store for a great show. I'm excited, Dean. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to quickly wrap this up. This has been an after show with Deanna Jean. I hope you guys had fun, and I'm so glad to have had Joe on the podcast yet again. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys come and see me on Moments of Clarity this Friday. I believe about 12 o'clock. Anyways, guys.
It's 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time on the Deanna After Show. Bye, guys.
Bye.